And now to Carol Marin and the latest person to enter Chicago's 2015 race for mayor. Carol.
Phil, thank you. Rahm Emanuel has a new challenger in the February mayoral election. After decades of public service, former 22nd Ward Alderman, Illinois State Senator, and current Cook County Commissioner Jesus Chuy Garcia wants to be the mayor of this city. A strong ally of the late Mayor Harold Washington and currently a strong supporter of Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle, does Garcia have what it takes to unseat an incumbent mayor with a multi-million-dollar war chest? Jesus Garcia broke the news with me earlier this evening on NBC5 News. He joins us now to talk about this decision. So at 58 years old, why you? Why now?
People in the city of Chicago, I think, are hurting. I've heard from people from southeast Chicago to Rogers Park, the west side and the south side, and they feel that Mayor Emanuel isn't really into being a mayor for the neighborhoods, that he believes he has solutions, he seeks to impose them from the top to the bottom, and that he has failed in the promises that he made 4 years ago to make streets safer. I think the level of insecurity without the fear of being shot, his promise to improve schools and to make them a good place, I think have fallen short. The reputation that we have nationally is that we shut down, we closed nearly 50 schools. That's a terrible headline. It shows a disconnect from community, from the impact of the school closures. With respect to reform, he promised that he would be a reform mayor, he would have an administration that adheres to ethics, yet he has refused to give all the powers that he promised the Inspector General, and he has refused to really reform tax increment financing, money that's taken from
the TIF
districts, yes. And it's continued to be a slush fund that only the mayor administers and decides who gets what from it.
But you know, Rahm Emanuel came into this city with an enormous amount of burdens before him, from trying to fund pensions, trying to find revenue, trying to restore infrastructure. Isn't it the case that virtually no one could have walked into that job and been able to do everything that they hoped to do?
The challenges that the city faces are enormous. However, it makes a difference as to who is the chief executive of the city of Chicago. It matters if you have the ability to really listen and to bring people together and to include them in the process. I think that's the type of background that I have, and right now in neighborhoods throughout the city, because I've heard from them, especially since Karen Lewis was not able to make this run, that they want someone to run, that they want someone who has spent their life building communities, solving problems, being concrete about the situation, and not just caring about the well-to-do and the great prosperity in the city center. They tell me they want a greater balance between development in the city center and what goes on in the neighborhoods.
Is it the case, though, that you would not be in this race? I mean, for the first time in your life, you're unopposed, both in the primary and the general election for county board. You have an easy ride right in this election. That you wouldn't be doing this if Karen Lewis hadn't developed a brain tumor and took herself as head of the teachers union out of this race?
I wouldn't, but I am, because I think it is really important to have a debate about the city's future, to roll out an agenda that says we will put neighborhoods at the center of city governance, about our priorities, and be a good listener. Take the cabinet out throughout the meetings in neighborhoods in Chicago. I think we need a community builder and someone who builds a consensus with people knowing what's important and always being held accountable to people.
Just quickly, does Karen Lewis endorse you?
I have not asked her for her support. I will be asking her for her support. She's someone that I deeply admire. Her passion for education and bringing together teachers and parents, I think, is unprecedented. We only see leaders like that once in a great while.
And so you have 3 weeks, essentially, to gather 12,500 good signatures on petitions, which means about 60,000 to make sure that you've got it. You need to at least lay down about $1 million in fundraising just as an initial start Can you realistically do that?
I believe so. I have an extensive network of individuals that I have worked with all of my life, all of my adult life throughout the city of Chicago. And it crosses from the south side to the southeast side to the west side to the north side. My credentials are in the field of community building with concrete results. There are labor unions that I think will be helping me. There are people who work day in, day out in the neighborhoods who want to change the direction of this city. I have no doubt that we will gather the signatures, commitments to have a stable, fully funded campaign to deliver a message, to raise my name recognition will be there. This is going to be a real campaign involving real people who want to change the course of the city's direction.
You got into politics back in 1983 when one of your best friends, Rudy Lozano, was assassinated.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And you ran for alderman. You were joined with Harold Washington, and you have been an anti-machine guy. But the machine beat you once in state senate, right?
Yes.
And so there are even Hispanics, like the old Hispanic Democratic Organization, who aren't going to be wild about you coming in.
Are hurting. They're hurting because of the Great Recession. They're hurting and don't have the security that they would like to have. I've heard it said across communities that we need a new agenda that really puts neighborhoods before everything else in the city. There needs to be a new balance between development in the city center, which is shining and looks beautiful, and the neighborhoods which are hurting. Public safety, good schools, and really caring about neighborhoods and listening to what people have to say is what people have told me they want in a mayor in the city of Chicago.
It all takes money. And so Tony Preckwinkle, whom you admire, has a pension bill that didn't get anywhere this time. Mayor Rahm Emanuel and Pat Quinn have a pension bill the Supreme Court may throw out. Where are you in terms of cutting state and city and county pensions in order to achieve some fiscal balance?
These are some of the more challenging issues that we have to tussle with as we move forward. Difficult decisions will have to be made, but it's important that as you chart a course, you involve people in negotiations to be honest, to be candid, and to be inclusive. That's what this administration has not done. That will be different. You don't have to alienate the people that you have difficult discussions with, difficult negotiations, and you don't have to leave neighborhoods behind and punish people simply because they are poor, because they're unemployed, and because they don't vote in the levels that other communities do.
Are you critical of Rahm Emanuel as much or more for his style as for his substance?
I believe that Mayor Emanuel has given up on too many neighborhoods in the city of Chicago. I think he has presidential ambitions or presidential sized ambitions, and I think he believes in trickle-down economics, that somehow if people just wait long enough, prosperity will come. I think there needs to be more shared prosperity because people are hurting, and they need a mayor who lives, who breathes the reality day in, day out that they experience in the city of Chicago.
So let me ask, one of the theories is Bob Fioretti, progressive alderman, is already running for mayor, and one of the theories, even when Karen Lewis was thinking about jumping in, was that if Fioretti and another contender, like you, get in, it maybe would deprive Rahm Emanuel of the 50% plus one to drive somebody into a runoff with the mayor. Is that the math that's going on here?
I'm in to win. I have not had a conversation with Alderman Fioretti. I highly respect him. I want to build a coalition which will prevail. It'll set a new agenda with new priorities, again, with common people and neighborhoods at the center of governance of the city.
Do you think that you are financially sophisticated enough to put your arms around the enormously complex fiscal problems this city has? Have you had that management in your experience?
I am an urban planner. I have managed enterprises for the city in the past. At the city's water department, I built a nonprofit community development corporation, partnerships with business, partnerships with universities. I think I have an understanding of the wherewithal of how the city functions, how it can be led in the 21st century, and a key ingredient of that is inclusiveness of all its people.
One of your advisors is Don Rose, who in 1979 led Jane Byrne to victory, and he is advising your campaign. Do you think he believes lightning can strike twice?
I do. I think we're optimists, and I think that we have a pulse of what's going on in the city, and in all quarters of the city, the cry is for change, for inclusiveness, and for forging a common ground for the city in the times that we live in.
You're a marathon runner, but this is a sprint of enormous size, and the sprint will require blacks and Hispanics who have sometimes had, and you've talked about this, an uneasy relationship in terms of voting blocks. Can you realistically see that you would have sufficient African American support, white ethnic support, along with Hispanic support to make this work?
We live in the 21st century. I think people recognize that our commonality will determine whether we prosper or whether we hurt. I think people are putting aside the differences, some of the historical differences that you cite that we experienced at the end of the 20th century. They recognize that in order for us to win, in order for us to advance and have more prosperity, a better...
by means of aldermen are taking a look at whether they've got chances to win in this election. The money is going to dictate some of the dynamics, is it not?
The money can only buy so much. I think his votes that he got 4 years ago are a high watermark. I think they have come down significantly. There is plenty of anger because they feel that the heart is not in the city, that he doesn't represent the neighborhoods or really understand how those neighborhoods work, is out of touch, and people are looking for someone who's lived all of his or her life in those neighborhoods. I think I'm one of those fellas.
You mentioned Karen Lewis, and you talked about her leadership and sort of her charisma. Does Jesus Chuy Garcia have the kind of charisma, the fire, the strength to go out there and galvanize, do you think? Or is it going to be a stylistic change for you?
I think that my passion is known all over the city. I think my commitment to racial justice, my commitment to fairness transcends ethnicity or race, and that people will find me a very open person in terms of inclusiveness and resetting the course of the city on the right track and involving everyone in the process.
Jesus Garcia, thank you very much for joining us. I know we'll be talking in coming weeks. You can see a timeline of Jesus Garcia's career on our website. And Phil, we go back to you.